Hey, good morning everyone. Riley Foster, Foster's Custom Steel. Down here on the highway, just below my driveway is right up there. This is Mill Creek stream, and most of the time, I got a car coming this way. Hold on 1 second. Most of the time, Mill Creek stream is about maybe 2 foot deep. As you can see, all this water, or all this greenery, is pushed over here. This creek raised about 12 feet. Now, I got a call last night, just about 10:30. I was in bed and my neighbors called. She said there was a vehicle trapped in the creek. Again, you can see this water. It came up over the highway, probably 2 foot. That's a 6 foot culvert. That's about a 2 foot rise right there. So this creek raised up between, I don't know, 8, 10, 12 feet. There's a telephone pole laying across there that should not be, but that ain't the problem. This is the problem. They called me and I came down here last night in the rain. They said there was a vehicle trapped down here in the stream. You can see the grass all pushed over here. This was a raging river. This lady tried to drive across this last night around 10:30 or so. And I'm gonna tell you, that's one lucky woman right there. She sat in this car for 2 hours. They had so many calls last night in Orange County, North Carolina, of deep water rescues and rescues and stuff. The only thing saved her is she bottomed out on that hump right there, and that log floated in and pinned her car against the dirt bank. And when I got down here last night, this car was bobbing up and down. Bless her heart, it broke my heart. She was in there beating on the window, hollering for help, and we were up there, could barely see a light. Is the only reason we knew there was someone in here. Could just barely see the light of her car, and it was underwater. Well, I'm going to tell you, at one time this car was, if not underwater all the way, it had to have been all the way up to where she just barely had a little bit of breathing room, because again, it was 2 foot over this creek. Over this road, you can see how the water, well, it moved this big log. That's, well, you're talking about probably 18-inch diameter log. I don't know how in the world she didn't get rolled over and washed on down through there. So I'm gonna go down in behind here on my property and see if I can't get in behind here and see if there's anything else. So hold on just a little bit. Remember to like, share, comment. I wanted to show y'all one more thing. That's that car where that got pinned by that log. This water was rushing all the way up here. You can see where the grass is pushed over all the way up here. Now that's 30 yards to that vehicle. She was underwater. I have no idea how that lady lived through that. No earthly idea how. All right, we're back down in the bottom, behind, or just below the road, and then behind that white car. Now I'm going to tell you what, that water was running through here. You can see how high those leaves are on these trees and how all this grass is pushed down. I said there was an enormous amount of water coming through here. That debris flow right there on that branch is probably 4 foot deep. And the creek is way over there. So we had a massive amount of water coming through here. Boy, I tell you. Wow. It just, I mean, huge amount of water coming through here. And fortunately, after it stopped raining, it rained about 5 hours, maybe 6 hours, but it rained I mean, just endless downpour. Look how this got pushed over right here. That was a huge amount of water coming through here. I'm going to try to make my way back up through there where that car is and look at this creek. I'd hate to think there's another vehicle in here we wouldn't know about. There's the creek. Now that creek is supposed to be 4 foot lower than what it is right now. Maybe 5 foot lower. All this is wet. I gotta watch all this mess. Yeah, this is unbelievable. There's only one time we've had this much water down in this bottom that I remember. And when we first moved out here, I think my second kid, Adam, was maybe, I'm not sure he was even born yet. So that was 30, almost 35 years ago. It rained hard enough to fill up or come over the road, but it wasn't maybe 6 or 8 inches over the road. So this rain and flood last night was just unbelievable. And again, there's the little creek. I'm trying to make it up there. I'm gonna have to wade through some stuff here, so hold on. All right, there's the stream. You can see that culvert up there in the distance. I cannot get through this mess. It is a briar thicket and mud. That is her back bumper right there. Her car is just up in there. You can't really see it, but yeah, I can't get up in there because I would normally walk down on the creek's edge and walk up through there, and it's about 4 foot deep, and I'm not going through the mud and taking a dive. So we'll walk down the stream the other direction. Fortunately, at 12:30 last night, they rescued that lady. They got her out. They laid a ladder down there and was able to climb down the ladder and get her out of that car. She tried to get out at one time, and my neighbor hollered and told her to get back in the car because it would have washed her away. That car was still bouncing up and down at that time. Now you can hear what used to be Mill Creek, the little stream over there. And look at all that debris. That's 4 foot high debris wash up on these trees. And again, the road is about 60, 80 yards that way. All of this was 3 and 4 foot underwater, which is just, we'd never seen it up that high, that's for sure. I'm glad I keep all my stuff up high and dry, because this would have washed, as you guys know, I collect a bunch of refrigerant cylinders and stuff like that and use them for artwork. This would have washed a bunch of that away, and that would have not been a good thing to get all that washed down in the stream. Oh boy, I'm gonna tell you, it got washed hard through here. Look at this. Good gracious. I have no idea where these came from. Yeah, we got some high water through here. So I'm gonna cut through. Let me turn this off just a second. Well, there's one thing about it. That heavy rain and all that runoff washed the ground real good around our big cookout and party area down here. The ground looks like someone came and swept it. Now the water did not get up here. We got some wash debris, and that stream is about 8 foot deep, 9 foot deep there, so it came lapping up through here. Now it never got up here around where we have our cookouts and stuff, but we're up pretty high up on the ground, and the neighbor that lives across the creek, used to live across the creek, there's no one living there now. Yeah, that land got flooded pretty heavy, I will say one thing, that water did come up to here because this little refrigerant cylinder almost was a casualty. Yeah, and the water stopped here, but boy, I guarantee you it came up here again. And they had so many deep water rescues last night in Orange County. That lady sat in that car, well, I don't know, for 2 hours. Now, how in the world that tree right there withstood all that, I don't know. Hope it hangs in there. That's a large oak tree, and if it falls across the creek, it's got to be cleaned up. So all this got water, all this got swept. You can see all the leaves and stuff. All right, as you can see, the water is still up about 5 or 6 feet and in my path, so I'm gonna have to go another way around. But look how clean it swept this ground. All the leaves, all the debris, lightweight twigs and sticks and all, they're washed down through there, and you can see all out through there. So all of this was underwater, and I wanted to get over there to see if my other neighbor's trash pile washed into the creek, but I'm not sure. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna put this on pause a second and get across. So I had to jump through a few hoops to get over here, but I'm on the other side of that low spot on the property. Oh my goodness, none of this has ever been wet before. That water came all the way up in here. You can see all the debris wash. That's about 1.5 feet high on the tree. Well, maybe 12 to 18 inches high. In other words, a lot of water, that little stream. And it starts in a swag in this area. So I am one of the first properties at the head of the stream. There's a I guess we're in a swag, but the top of it is maybe less than a 1/4 mile area in a circle, and every bit of that washes down in this bottom. You can see that's the creek over there. We've got a tree down in the creek, and yeah, that's why this flooded. There's 2 now. There's one debris field right there blocking up the stream, and there's one down there. You can see it at an angle. I'll have to get the chainsaw and cut that out. Keep that water flowing a little bit better than that. Boy, I tell you, other than the car in the just off the road, this isn't a disaster. There's so many people who've got flooded out in the last, well, since Helene come through the mountains. Oh my goodness, that's what I was afraid of. I don't know if you can see that. That's all my neighbor's garbage over there. I'm going to try to get over there and video that and take a look and see what it looks like. So hold on. All right, that's a chunk of a mobile home roof that the last major flood we had, it washed over on my property, and it has moved on down the stream here. And at least I can get it out of here now. I couldn't get it out before, or where it was at before, so now I can. But I can't get over there on that little peninsula that my property runs out on, so I can take a look at all of his garbage and see how it weathered. I see a lot of runoff out there in the distance. So I'll have to check it out later. Well, this was my path up through here. There's my little cross bridge. My little footbridge. Yeah, so I'm getting ready to walk out of the debris field, it looks like. Yeah, it's still in sloppy wet, but at least not too muddy. Get on up here to high ground. Yeah, all this, boy, you wonder how in the world water moves all that and piles it up and makes such a mess Yet that's water's going to find the least resistance, and it's going to go. And if it don't, it'll just back up till it builds enough pressure to go. Other than that, one car, thank God that lady got out of there. I'm going to tell you, she was one fortunate person. She better go home and drop to her knees. So guys, that was it. Fortunately, we didn't have any disasters here on Mill Creek. The neighbor, Gary, got about a foot of water in his shop. And I stepped into my shop last night, well, this morning I guess it was 1, just to look. And there was puddles of water where the water seeped through the cinder block and puddled because the water was backed up against it and overflowing the driveway and up down against my shop. So guys, there's a video on, unfortunately, a little bit of flooding going on Mill Creek. We've had a lot of flooding here in Orange County. You guys give thanks if you're high and dry. Have a great day.